Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this is part of it's a three-parter, right? So I didn't want to do it in one big long one. So I'm going to break it into three smaller videos. So we're going to do just kind of like the basics in this video, and then we're going to take a deeper dive down to the rabbit hole. So this is we're just going to be talking about the lymphatic, but in the next one we're going to kind of be incorporating how that system is affected by other systems, because we can't just separate systems. They work all together in our bodies. So we have the beginner part. And then the third video is going to be how we can take care of our lymphatic system, which is generally what I teach when I do the in-person classes. I don't go so much into depth, but we're going to go into depth for this class. And so that people can come on, and if they want to know the technical aspect, they can definitely dive into that technical aspect. So I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint. And let's take a dive into the lymphatic system. So our lymphatic system is definitely our fluid system, right? So it's moving like water. I want to make sure the right mic. Okay, I'm good. Good to go. So what is your lymphatic system? What is it? So lymphatic tissue is a collection of lymph nodes, vessels, ducts, and lymphatic organs such as the thymus, tonsils, and spleens. They are located, all those things are located in an area that are susceptible to foreign microorganisms, such as in the digestive tract, um, or like there's a lot in our neck, because as we breathe in, it's our immune system. The lymphatic system and the immune system are one. If you look at these, what's the immune system, and you look at this is the lymphatic system, you're like, hey, it's the same things. So um they are in areas such as the digestive system to protect us when we eat something that maybe we shouldn't be, or breathing in that's to protect us. And we start to get sick, we'll notice that the nodes right behind our ears might get a little tender. That's the same thing for our stomach. If you're experiencing bloating and tenderness in your stomach, that is your lymphatic system going, okay, I'm a bit overloaded now. They're also in areas where they can easily get pumped through. Our lymphatic system does not have a heart, which we'll talk about in a minute. So in the armpit is a constant movement of arms and legs. There's a lot in the groin area as well. And so as we move, we are helping pump that system. So there's a lot of nodes in those areas. So we have um, 450 lymph nodes, and the majority of them, I think it's almost half, it's a lot, are located in our abdominal pelvic region. But again, we also have a lot in our head and neck. We also have a lot in our, like, there's a lot in the pelvis, there's a lot in the armpit, in the thoracic region, but in the abdomen, there's a lot of lymphatic things going on. So that's lymphatic nodes. The majority of our lymphatic nodes are within the abdomen, but 70% of the lymphatic vessels are located just underneath the skin. Okay, so here we have the lymphatic system. And we talked about how they have these lymphatic organs, such as here are the tonsils. You ever wondered what system those are part of? And I know people are getting them removed, but they actually play an important part of our immune system and being a first line of defense. Then we also have the thymus. Now, the thymus is like a record of everything, every little sickness we've ever had. And it's the largest when we were kids. And then it kind of gets smaller as we get older. And that's right underneath that sternum. And then we have the spleen on our left. And then, so these are nodes, these little, they're not green in our bodies, but these little dots right here are the lymphatic nodes, as you can see. And these are this is the mammary plexus right here in the circle. And all these little squiggly lines are the lymphatic vessels. And then we also have, like again, a high concentration of lymphatic nodes. So that includes the stomach, the large intestines, the small intestines. We got a bunch around the kidneys and all things like that. Also, bone marrow is a part of the lymphatic system, and white blood cells and all those good things. And we're going to go into this picture in a bit. Okay, so what's the difference between the cardiovascular system? Because they're both, the lymph and the cardiovascular system are both part of the circulatory system, right? The cardiovascular system, though, is considered a closed system. It provides oxygen and nutrients to the body cells while removing metabolic waste. Now, how do they remove metabolic waste? That's where they're going to come into contact with the lymphatic system. So they use a heart to pump it throughout the system, right? While the lymphatic system is considered an open system and it's collecting and removing waste products and microorganism and other debris from tissues. And unlike the cardiovascular system that has a heart, it has to use gravity and muscle contractions to pump fluid. That's the reason being moving is so important. And if you get like swollen knees, and I'll tell people, my clients, you got to walk, and they're like, but it hurts to walk. And I go, I know, but if you walk, you'll start to pump that fluid out of your knees, out of the joint, and it will feel more comfortable. But if you guys got to go. So again, both are part of the circulatory system. So this is where the lymph and the blood combine. Actually, there's another place, but first of all, I'll talk about this. So they combine here at the capillaries. So you can see that this is actually the capillary system right here, and this is the lymph capillary. So here's the arteriola, right? So it comes in here and then it goes into the capillaries, and that's when it kind of becomes not so closed. And the fluid is able to come out of the capillaries, go into the interstitium fluid. Now, just the small things, right? So the red blood cells, they stay in there. They don't go around crazy, but like the little smaller materials can go into the interstitium. And we'll talk about that in the next class. In the next class, because I'm a teacher, you know, I teach massage. I do this. Okay, so it goes into this interstitium, and then the lymph is like, okay, you don't want this, you don't want that. Like, let me take care of this for you. And then it can get pumped back into the venule to go back to the heart. So this lymph system is cleaning up all that for you. It's going to then go into the lymphatic capillaries, which are very, very open here. And then eventually it is like an open closed system. So it will like push it through and then close it so nothing can kind of go back. It's got to go towards the node. And then it gets pumped up to the lymph node. And I'm right on this person. You can't see it. Okay, let me move myself over here. So what is lymph? Lymph is a clear, colorless fluid that contains water, protein molecules, cellular components, and fatty acids that need to be transported back to the circulatory system. So here you have a lot of lymphatic vessels, and it's a lot, especially more lymphatic vessels than nodes down here at the extremities, and it's going to pump up. So let's start at the foot. It's going to pump all the way up here. This is behind the knee where there's some nodes, and it's going to keep coming up here to the pelvis, and then it comes all the way up through the stomach. And these nodes super, super deep in the body. They're not very surface level. And then here's the sternochyli right here, and it's going to go up the sternum to the two main lymphatic ducts, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But keep in mind, this is how far it has to go. So when we say, like, you know, how does lymph drain, it can be easy to consider, hey, it just goes towards the heart. It doesn't quite go towards the heart. It actually goes to this point right here underneath the sternum. And at this point, these ducts, once they get here, they go, oh, it goes back into the cardiovascular system. There's this little valve that's like, nice, clean fluid. Thank you very much. I will take that back. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the lymph of the abdomen, because I said there's a lot of lymph in the abdomen, right? So I put this little avocado here. I did that because the lymphatic system actually plays a really important part of fat absorption and usage in our body, right? So the majority of lymph, again, nodes, is in the abdomen. This is why what you eat affects your lymphatic system. This is also my opinion where we really know the least about how the lymphatic system works. And it's very possible that some foods that are great for the lymphatic system may not be foods that like benefit your body being in ketosis, or like the paleo and anything out there like this. Something that could be good for weight loss isn't necessarily what's good for your lymphatic system and your immune system. So something that could be good for the heart system isn't necessarily good for the lymphatic system. They can be the same items, but not always. So the reason I put this avocado is here. So this green thing right here in the picture is the cisterna chyli. And this contains the lymph fluid from the intestines. And unlike the lymph fluid is milky in color from fat absorption. Okay. So once it leaves the cisterna chyli, it's clear again. So I'm not sure that, like I said, we need more research. What happens to the fat at this point? Now, it's also important to notice that the cisterna chyli is actually right around here. This picture doesn't have it. They don't, not all pictures have it. We all have it though. There are some things we don't all have, but this one we do. And they're right here around the kidneys. So this is the lymphatic system of the abdomen with the kidneys. Right now, we believe all the fluid goes all the way up here to our two main lymphatic ducts. But it's becoming more widely accepted that right around here, somehow, some of the metabolic waste is going into the kidneys. And so, it's a speculation that it doesn't all come up to the ducts, that at this point some things are going to the kidneys, and the kidneys is then getting rid of it out of the body. Because if it comes up to the two main lymphatic ducts, what do you do with all the crap? The crap's still in there. It's like, this isn't just like a massive storage. It's not like we sweat out of this area excessively for it to leave the body. So there's a lot of talk and when I do lymphatic drainage, a lot of people will pee, and it can be very dark and things like that. So their kidneys are getting affected in some way. So just know, like, hopefully we'll get more research about this, especially because of the importance of the lymph on the small intestines and colon. So again, it doesn't just surround, it surrounds the stomach as well, but the stomach is very, very thick, right? So it does drain the lymph of the stomach, but usually what becomes permeable is the small intestines and the large intestines, especially these large intestines. So as the lymph is there, it's like making sure everything's okay. There's nothing being absorbed, because we do need to absorb these nutrients from the food we eat. And we need to absorb the water, especially like the small intestines. We're trying to absorb all that water, right? And it's moving through. It's like this muscle that's pumping it through, right? So the lymph is checking that. But now if it has to clean because we ate some not so good choices, then we often have to consider that you're going to get bloated. You're going to get bloated because the lymph in this area gets definitely overworked, and the small intestines and the large intestines are more permeable, and so again, half those lymphatic nodes are in this area to protect us against things that aren't so good for us to eat. I'm just noticing how many nodes in this picture around this appendix. That's interesting. Okay, so Pyrus patches. I couldn't find a great picture of Pyrus patches, but our small intestines is separated into 3 parts, and I believe the one with the Pyrus is I don't remember. I think it's the ileum. No, that's not right. At least something. At least something. But that's where the Pyrus patches are. And interestingly enough, the last third of the small intestines takes up about half of the intestines. So the first 2/3 are a smaller portion versus this longer portion. So the first 2/3, they absorb lots of nutrients and things like that. But when it gets down to the so small intestines, the last third, you have these Pyrus patches, and there's a lot. Pyrus patches are, again, they're part of the lymphatic system. So this portion of the small intestines is responsible for regulation of good gut bacteria. So all these people who have SIBO, right? Why is the lymphatic system not regulating that gut bacteria and allowing it to overgrow? So this is a question. Like we're trying to like fix the cause or the symptom. The symptom is there's an overgrowth. Okay, so they're trying to go in and do all these things, but why is the lymphatic system not fixing it? And how can we support the lymphatic system in a way that our body can fix these issues? Okay. So it's also where the rest of the body does lots of nutrients and things like that. That this is the part that B12 and fat is absorbed into the system, along with the nutrients as well. So at the other part of the small intestines aren't absorbing fat. Here's where the fat's getting absorbed. Remember, I was saying that it turns the lymph into like a milky white and goes up the sternocleidomastoid and then disappears somehow. So if that's why I've noticed that, for example, that my body, my lymph, I have stagnant lymph. I'm kind of curious because I was listening to a podcast and she was talking about how they've actually found the genetic marker for stagnant lymph, and she was an herbalist, and she was like, I've got the marker. She already knows she has the marker. And so some people like me just have stagnant lymph, and I think what makes us really passionate about learning more and more about this system, because it's an issue we have in our own bodies. And interestingly enough, even though I have stagnant lymph, and I have to do lots of herbs as well as movements and lots of things that I'm going to teach you guys about, and that my immune system is actually really strong. So B12, fat absorbed, and a few other things in the Pyrus patches. And where's my mouse? I will put it around here, right here. So this is, so especially like that lower belly bloat, right? That's your Pyrus patches area right there. Now, let's talk about the lymphatics of the breast. This is a really beautiful image, by the way. So the drainage of the lymph fluid is also an important role to the health of the breast. So, for example, I will actually notice, because I notice it now, I'll get tender right here on the sides if I wear a wired bra a lot. Now, not all women experience that. I kind of have a feeling it depends on how much work the bra has to do. That if it has to do more work, then there's definitely more compression. Like maybe women with larger breasts, they tend to wear tighter bras because they need just more support. So I kind of have theories about that. But here's an image of the breast here, and you'll see the lymphatic vessels. And it wasn't the best image, but it was the most accurate when it comes to lymph flow, because a lot of them I'm like, well, that's not the way the lymph goes. I didn't want to show you that. So it's hard to see the side here, but just know that when your lymph drains of the breast, half of it goes towards the center and up, and then the other half comes around here where that wire likes to push on, and then comes up through, goes to the armpit, and then comes up all the way to here. They both have to come here. And there's actually been quite a few studies that shown that wired bras that are too tight can block lymphatic drainage, and it actually increase your chances of breast cancer. And then also we want to point out that because the armpit is right there, we don't want to be putting things like aluminum on our armpits or any other toxic chemicals that have been banned in other countries. We don't want to be putting that on our armpit and clogging it, because then as the breast tries to goes through here and then goes to the armpit, and it's like gets stuck there, and you may find that your armpit actually can get sensitive and tender instead of just kind of the breast area. So as you do skin brushing, for example, I like to go up and then I like to go around. So the two different ways that the lymph actually drains in the breast. Now, lymphatic ducts. This is actually kind of interesting. So the right duct drains, as you can see in this picture, the right side of the face, and it drains the right breast. I actually think this kind of goes down a little bit far. I think it's only like here, but it's possible it's this far. So the right armpit, the right arm, and that's it. The left side, and it's funny, as I do lymphatic drainage, I find that this one is clogged on more people, which is weird because it totally doesn't even have as much to do. This left side, though, this left side does the left side of the face, the left arm, the left breast, all of the stomach. So all of the abdomen nodes, half the nodes that get drained, they're actually get drained on this left side, and both legs. So the left does a lot more work. So now this is what the books say. This is why I say it's kind of interesting. So where does the lymph drain into? Okay. So the reason I find it interesting is because the books say 10% of lymph fluid goes into the circulatory system next to lymph ducts. There's like this little J hook thing that the fluid leaves the ducts and goes right into the circulatory system. But they say the fluid goes there, but then they're like only 10%. They're like, well, where does the rest go? Again, so Robert, no, I think it's Morris. Did I spell that wrong? ND says the lymph drains into the third kidney system. So he considers the three kidney systems to be the two kidneys and the skin being the third. So it's very important to exfoliate and skin brush and do hot saunas and do lots of things that can help the skin detox. And actually, you may not know this about me, but I actually didn't sweat. Like when I first started this journey to be healthy, I could bike, I could work out, I wouldn't sweat. I was constantly dumping water over my head to cool myself off because I could not cool myself off well. And that's kind of an testament, I think, for all the work that I've done, that now I sweat when I work out. Okay, so my experience with lymphatic massage is that's true, and that urine is darker after a session, and stagnant lymph will create swelling and bloating. Okay, so that's all for this one. Friday, so if all those who are watching live, Friday is when I will be doing the next one, and then they will get posted onto my wellness class, online class. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned. It gets even juicier. Oh, I want to say, because I forgot to put this in my PowerPoint, that 10 years ago, they didn't think there was any lymph in the brain. 10 years ago. So, oh shit, what year was that? What year are we in right now? So 2010, I think, around 2010, they found lymph, and they call it like the glandular system. That's not right. It's something like that, though. They call it its own like lymph system, especially for the brain. 10 years ago, we didn't even know about the lymph in the brain 10 years ago. So know that we are constantly learning, constantly exploring. So depending on when you watch this video, Maybe it's outdated. I try to keep up on it as much as I can and redo it once I learn new things. But how crazy is that? That not that long ago, we didn't even know about the lymph and the brain, and now we do. So thanks for watching, and I will see you for the next one.